Assalamu alaikum. Is my audio clear?
Yes.
Am I audible, Rubina?
Yes, you are. Khadija, please start.
Yeah. Hello and welcome everyone. I am Shyama S and on behalf of National Federation of GIO, I would like to thank all of you for the session. Before moving forward, as per the Bihar for Tilawat Quran. Hello. Am I audible? Hello. Hello. Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please continue.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Khadija Hassan and on behalf of National Federation of GIO, I would like to thank all of you for joining our session. Before moving forward as per the ritual of GIO, I would like to invite Hafiz Sabir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما اتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. English translation. O people who believe, fear Allah, and every soul must see what it has sent ahead for tomorrow. And fear Allah, indeed Allah is aware of your deeds. And do not be like those who forgot Allah. He therefore put them into hardship, making them forget themselves. It is they who are the sinners. The people the people of hell and the people of paradise are not equal. It is only the people of paradise who have succeeded. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Sabrine, for such a beautiful recitation and for giving such an enlightening message to all of us. Now, moving towards our program, I would love to welcome Sister Rubina. She is a member of National Federation of GIO and coordinator of monthly awareness program for welcoming address.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar. Salam and greetings to all. This is Sayyida Noshaba, member National Federation of GIO. I begin in the name of Almighty Allah, the creator and sustainer of the universe, who sent Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as a mercy for man. Peace and blessings be upon the Prophet. We are extremely grateful to our Lord Almighty, who provided us this opportunity to gather here for a noble cause. We are very fortunate to be a part of this remarkable new initiative. Alhamdulillah. This program has been organized by NFGIO, that is National Federation of GIO. Considering various challenges being faced by women in India today, there is an urgent need of discussing these issues and spreading awareness regarding the same. Now, moving forward, on behalf of NFGIO, I would like to welcome and introduce today's speaker. Firstly, I welcome Sister Shyama S. She is a PhD scholar at the Center for the Study of Law and Governance and the sub-editor of Aura magazine. Next, I would like to welcome Sister Dr. Sharnas Muthu. She has completed her PhD from Jamia Millia Islamia, worked as a social worker at Delhi Police, General Secretary of Women Manifesto, New Delhi, trustee member of Women Education and Empowerment Test. Next is Sara Mathews. She is an educationist, writer, civil rights and women's rights activist, managing trustee, Sankalp Women Support Alliance, which work for rape survivors and against any form of violence against women. Next is Madam Rahmath Unnisa Abdurazak Sahiba. She was lecturer, principal at various colleges and schools in India, including Jeddah and Italian International School. She has served as State President of GIO Kerala, State President of JIH Women's Wing Kerala, President Tanima Women's Wing Jeddah, Coordinator of Student India KSA, CIGI Consular, etc. She has written hundreds of articles, stories, dramas, and poems in English and Malayalam. Presently, she is National Secretary of Jamaat Islami Hind, Women's Wing, Chairperson of WEET, Chief Editor of Aura Magazine, Secretary Aware. Aware is nothing but Association of Women's Advocacy, Research and Empowerment Trust. Editorial Board Member of Aramam Magazine, Kerala, and Member of Board of Islamic Publications, New Delhi, Central Committee Member of ITA, All India Muslim Personal Law Board Member, and also a Shura, Central Shura Member of Jamaat Islami Hind. I welcome you all. It's my immense pleasure to introduce our president, national president of this Federation of GIO India, Sister Sumaiya Roshan. She has born and brought up in Bangalore, a law graduate practicing as an advocate in Bangalore, and active member of Girls Islamic Organization Karnataka, member of Association of Protection of Civil Rights, APCR Karnataka chapter. We also have with us Sister Samar. She is General Secretary, National Federation of GIO. She has done her Masters in Journalism and Mass Communication from IFLO, Hyderabad. Currently, she is working with an MNC. Last but not least, I welcome all the participants of this gathering. Ahlan, sahlan, wa marhaba. May Allah make this event successful. Jazakallahu khair.
So much, Shaba, for introducing us with her GIO things. Now I would like to call Sumaiya Roshan for the welcoming session.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope I am audible to all. Peace and blessings be upon all of you. My heartiest greetings to respected Unnisa Sahiba, Sister Samar, our respected guests for today's session, and members of the Federal Committee, and members and associates of GIO and other members in the audience. I start with praises and gratitude to the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity and guiding us in our endeavors. May He always give us the strength and courage to stand up for what is right and what is just. I'm also very pleased to inaugurate the activities and programs of the National Federation of GIO with this very first awareness program, Alhamdulillah. So these programs will be happening every month, inshallah. It is an effort to continue the monthly awareness programs that were previously happening under the name of GIO Central Committee. To introduce the National Federation of GIO to our audience, what is the Federation and what we are aspiring to do? So this Federation is a consolidation of all GIO zones in India. GIO, that is Girls Islamic Organization, is a socio-religious organization, one of the foremost girls' organization in India, working since 1984. As of today, GIO is established in 16 states. Over the past few years, it has been working for the overall development of Muslim women and engaging in various issues, particularly relating to women. Now, at national level, our efforts are to provide a platform for women to be heard and express themselves, inshallah. If I can quote a Libyan Canadian activist named Ala Murabit, she says in one of her talks that it was important for her to be on the table. She talks about the importance of being on the table. When her mom's favorite lamb broke, she had to be there at the table and defend herself. And if you're not there, then there are assumptions and they're pointing fingers at you. This just struck me that it is so important to claim your space, your due space in the society. Because it is very important for us to take charge of the conversations happening about us, about our challenges, about our issues, and about the things that concern us. And as the famous quote goes, if you don't find a seat in the table, carry a folding chair. As we, a part of the largest democracy in the world, all of us are entitled to get equal opportunity to evolve ourselves, to attain our highest potentials. And despite immense efforts and development, women in India continue to face discrimination in all possible manner. We, the Federation of GIO, wish to create an environment for women to come together, nourish themselves, and develop themselves to be able to fight the challenges of the society and also to contribute to the betterment of the society. We hope we can work and collaborate with other women and amplify our voices, because women's role is extremely important and extremely crucial for the progress of the family as well as the society. And most importantly, counter the stereotypical and prejudiced narrative of girls and women in general, and Muslim women in particular. I pray that the Almighty guides us and help us in this effort. So with these objectives, and as one of our activities, we begin our monthly awareness programs. A series of programs have happened under the banner of GIO Central Committee, and we intend to continue the same. So these programs will create awareness on different issues and different subjects that are less discussed by people that are less heard, trying to also build discussions that are more solution oriented, where we are trying to look for the way forward and what can be the solutions for the problems and not just discussing about the problems. Through this, we also aspire to give the platform to bring out voices of girls and younger women in the society, and to collaborate with women working in the sphere, such as the speakers today. And of course, this will happen with the coordination and cooperation of all GIO zones that are functioning in the states. So for today, let's talk about us and our challenges in Free India. If we see all the challenges and the issues that women are facing, all are interlinked or connected directly or indirectly. It can be illiteracy, unemployment, sexual violence, domestic violence, suicide, or any other injustice. All of these are still very much prevailing and in very concerning amount. Not that they have been reduced consecutively over the years, but they have been a rise in these violence and in the discrimination from some time, according to the statistics and according to the reports. There are also women who continue to struggle for their basic rights, who are majorly facing discrimination, and the recent cases have been shocking. On the very occasion of Independence Day, when we heard about Nari Shakti and changing the mentality towards women in our Prime Minister's speech, we also heard that 11 convicts of rape and murder in Bilqis Banu case were released. And that makes us all question, like Bilqis Banu herself question, how can justice for any women end like this? We also saw the student activist Safura Zargar, how her MPhil admission was cancelled and later she was banned from entering even the campus, putting her entire career and future at risk. We also heard about a young 19-year-old girl who was killed in Uttarakhand and thrown into the canal because she refused to give sexual services to the guests. Even before these, we saw during the CAA movement as well how women were violated, even on social media. Social media had become such a toxic place for all of us to be in. So when we are consuming news of such violence and women being raped and killed so regularly, it kind of desensitizes the people and the society towards it. So if these things are talked about once and twice and left without any action or any accountability, then is there going to be change anytime soon? And as we talk today, we are around Daughters' Day, which should not only be a reminder for how daughters should be treated at homes, but it should also be a reminder for how daughters of the country should be treated. Reminder to the government as well as the people of the country. Now, to further this discussion and to talk about women in different fields and different spaces in society, we have a wonderful panel who have been working and engaging in different discussions around women and their challenges. We have Shyama S, Dr. Sharnas Muthu, Sara Mathews ma'am, Unnisa ma'am, You have heard elaborately on their background of work and their achievements, and I'm very positive that it will be a fruitful discussion, and we are looking forward to hearing you all. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My sincere gratitude to Sumaiya and Roshan for introducing us with the topic. To begin with our program, first I would like to invite Ms. Shyama. She is a PhD scholar and sub-editor of a Aura e-magazine. Shyama.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Am I audible? Yeah, okay. So first of all, thank you so much to the organizers. Thank you to the National Federation of GIO. And it's Sumaiya and Samar, both of you are here. So I think first of all, before we do anything else, congratulations. Because I think and I hope and I pray that this is a beginning, a very wonderful beginning of a bright future for the Federation, and many such programs will be held, inshallah. Respected guests, fellow speakers, members of GIO, and the audience who has taken out its time to speak, to listen, to pitch in. I would like to begin with something that Sumaiya said, and it struck me really well, which was that the idea, the long-running metaphor of the seat at the table. It's been frequently discussed in many, in many movements, that who gets to have a seat at the table, who doesn't get to have a seat at the table. And once you do get a seat at the table, how much are you allowed to talk? And how much will you be heard? And also, most fundamentally, what does the table look like? What does the structure that you are entering into actually look like? Do you get to redesign the table? Do you get to change the table? Or do you get stuck in a sphere of representation where you're allowed to sit at the table but not do much more than that? And all of these metaphors are very relevant to, I think, women in India today, because we are at a very transitory stage. If you look at a lot of the data, I am not a data person, but for those of you who are quite excited by stats and data, it is evident that women are in flux in India. Even if you put aside the idea that women is a very homogeneous, is a very heterogeneous category, all those things aside, statistics do show that women are entering new and new spaces, are even outstripping their male counterparts in many fields, such as, for example, the humanities, where I am doing my PhD. It's very commonplace now to see even more women than men in many courses, such as social science or other such fields. So on one hand, it is clear that perhaps we are in a moment of shift and flow, where there are more and more women in higher education, which is what I wanted to focus on today, because as somebody who is in a university, the debates around women in higher education are very relevant to our purposes, I think, since most of the audience and even the organizers are of that age where either they have recently gone through or pursued a degree, or are in the middle of pursuing some degrees, or are taking part in different kinds of education that might not necessarily pertain to a formal degree. But education remains at the heart of many of the quests of Indian women today. And that is because, as Sumaiya also said, there are still very foundational issues for Indian women to conquer. Very basic things are still quite extraordinary in many parts of the country. Very basic things are still quite shocking. So of course, when we talk about, for example, we talk about education broadly, we often talk about the idea of access and equity. So the first, the idea of stepping up to the table, of being able to enter it, of being able to enter a space, that itself has and comes with huge challenges. We know that it takes a lot, not just of the woman in question, but also of her family, of her community, of so many things around her, to enable her to pursue her dreams. So the idea of access itself is still very limited. Although if you look at the stats, it might look very rosy, it might look very bright that, okay, so many, percentage, a huge percentage of women, and among that Muslim women, Dalit women, OBC women, Adivasi women are entering education and higher education in particular at remarkable speeds. But what does it mean to enter a space? And what does it mean to stay there with dignity, to stay there with safety, to stay there with the freedom? Because the title speaks of free India. Ankita Bhandari's case was recently was brought up in this introduction. And that is very interesting because Ankita Bhandari's case, as a dear friend of mine recently wrote an op-ed, so I'll just quote one line from it. Ankita Bhandari's case is brutal, not because of all the extraordinariness of retaliation to a refusal by a woman to do what was expected of her, but because of how rampant, mostly invisible, and commonly delegitimized such experiences are at the workplace and outside. So it is perhaps not the extraordinariness of a case like Ankita Bhandari or of a case like Fatima Latif or Payal Tadvi, who managed to enter higher education with great cost, but paid for it with their lives. But it is the fact that these stories are far more common than we think, than we know. These are only few stories that we know. And it is the contribution of women's movements, of Muslim women's movements, of Ambedkarite movements in campuses, who have managed to bring out these stories into the public sphere. And it is the legacy of all these movements that we are all sitting around and having this conversation today. And so when we talk about higher education, and I always catch myself when I'm talking in such a context, because on one hand there is the need to highlight realities, very dark and disturbing realities. On the other hand, there is absolutely no need to fall into despair, because I come from JNU, and to be very frank, the events that have happened in JNU, whether it is an Ajib case, whether it is the incidents of violence, so on and so forth, have many times when I speak to younger students who at one point had that dream of girls, particularly Muslim women, who had this big dream of like coming to these universities, are now, the more and more they hear these stories, it's like a catch. We want to bring these stories out to bring reality, but often consuming a lot of these stories also leads students to think maybe not, maybe it's these spaces are not for me, maybe I will not be welcome. So I think it is our responsibility as activists, as academics, to responsibly tell these stories in a way that we do not induce despair or this sense that there is no hope. I would like to say that there is a lot of hope, and there is a lot of people, women in particular, carving spaces where there were none. If you look at higher educational universities, institutions, these institutions for a very long time, whether it is JNU, whether it is other universities, were dominated by only those, for example, whose parents had access to higher education, were only dominated by people belonging to certain communities, certain castes, who could speak English a certain way, who could, dress a certain way. And that is very, very true even today for so many professional courses, whether it is journalism, whether it is law, all these are mediated, with a certain kind of, the way you have to talk, the way you have to dress, the way you have to behave. But the last 20, 30 years, if you look at what we call the post-Mandal era in education, it has broken the dam. Like the table is now, does not look like the table that it looked like 20 years ago. It is completely changed. The people sitting at the table are completely changed. And so I think it is a very crucial generation that all of you who, as Indian women in this very difficult, very complicated India, are entering into the world of adulthood. You can say when you're in your mid-20s, you are taking up jobs, you are looking to study, you are looking to do so many things in your life, in your personal life, your personal goals, whether it is marriage, whether it is whatever it is. And when you are stepping into this kind of a time, it is very important to, first of all, ask yourself why. What are my goals? Why did I set out to do this? Secondly, to not get bogged down by the challenges. You are, in fact, very, very honestly, you are not alone, in the sense that the challenges that you are facing have been faced by people before you and are also being faced by people in your own circle. That is why the presence of organizations like GIO or any other associational likes, it's very, very important, particularly in these kind of times. Because when you don't have somebody else to connect to, you feel like the challenges are a lot bigger than they often are. When you realize that, okay, 10 more people have gone through the same thing or are going through the same thing, you can take them on. So some of the most specific things in in terms of challenges in higher education, there are many things. There are many things that one can talk about, whether it is sexual violence, whether it is safety, whether it is, even the more basic things like, not knowing what courses to do, not knowing, where to, what is the next step to take. But one of the more interesting things I would say, as women, excuse me. Yeah. So is often the social realities of who you are as women is at odds with your dreams, right? You may want to do a lot of things, but there are many, many gendered expectations of you. In a way, society perceives how women are or how women should be. It may not be as violent as, the case of Ankita Bhandari. It can be something smaller. But knowing how to counter these things while retaining your identity, while retaining your truth, while retaining the sense of right and wrong, retaining a sense of morality, all these things are very important. When you will enter a central university or a state university or any kind of a workplace, you will be faced with multiple kinds of challenges. Some of them will be that it might be a very different environment from what you were used to. You might come from a very sheltered space and now you're entering a very, very strange kind of place where people are doing and saying things that you might not have ever been familiar with. Or you could be engaging with faculty who are very unresponsive or even very apathetic to your needs. And simultaneously, there are the very unique, challenges of life as a woman. Your family has certain needs of you. Your spouse may have certain needs of you if you are married. Excuse me. And there are maybe many other issues that you have internalized, in the sense that you might feel that I am not up to it. One of the most interesting things that I think I realized when I started working for Aura is that even in the sphere of writing, which does not, quintessentially involve, okay, I have to go out of the house, or I have to, not a reportage kind of thing, very simple things like writing a short article or a short poem. There are many women who are incredibly talented, but they just have never felt like, I can do this. Or nobody has ever told them that you can do this. That is also very true in most cases. So stepping out of your comfort zone and is often the first step of it. When you are in a university, when you're in your workplace, there might be many things that are not, that you want to do, that you want to pursue this job, you want to pursue some kind of dream, but you have a sense that, I'm not going to be able to make it. And somewhere that is the first challenge before we get to all the societal challenges that are very, very real and very there. So I think that, when we talk about how, when we talk about a solution-oriented approach, we often jump straight to things like laws or things like, political solutions, how to maybe if there is a question of insecurity or lack of safety, we start thinking about, okay, we should demand a new law. All those things are well and good. I come from a center of law and governance, so I'm not opposing the need for laws. What I'm saying is that when we start talking about a solution-centered approach to the challenges women face, we often fail at the first step, which is identifying the problems. Also, because women is a very heterogeneous category. There are women of many communities, castes, religions, identities, and all of them have their unique challenges. So when we talk about something like sexual harassment, for instance, sexual harassment in itself is experienced differently for different women. When we talk about access to the workplace, a woman who has had maybe women working in her own family home, or who is a second generation learner, has a very different understanding of what the workplace will be and how to reach the workplace, as opposed to somebody who has not had access to these things. So before we reach the solutions, it is very important to actively identify what are the major challenges that women face in India today. And one thing that before on a concluding note, we often start identifying problems and solutions based only on our location. This is something that I have been thinking about recently. As women who have had access to a certain level of higher education, a certain level of academia, or the experience of working, we often forget that there are much more basic and fundamental challenges that are yet to be addressed. Perhaps because we no longer experience it, or we have not experienced it. And also because there are very different India. When you say free India, the question begs itself, what is India? What is the experience of, is there an experience of the Indian woman? I don't think so. So it is always important to step out of yourself, step out of your location, your social location, where you were brought up, your immediate surroundings, and then to empathetically try to understand the problems of what it means to be a woman in free India. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shyama, for such a wonderful speech. Your years of research, depth of understanding, and your ability to present the subject made us aware about the challenges that women faces among us. Taking our program forward, I would like to call Dr. Sharnas Muthu, who is an educationist, writer, and an activist.
Am I audible? I think the introduction is changed. You introduced Sara, ma'am. Anyway, don't worry. Rahmath, Unnisa, ma'am, Shyama, research scholar from GIO, Sara, ma'am, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm very happy and very thankful to the organizers of the program for inviting me. Such a wonderful program. When we talk about women and their challenges, I think violence against women, it's one of the important area. I don't know how to cover this wider topic within 15 12 minutes. Anyway, I just to give a brief idea about the violence against women, how what are the challenges women facing in their victimization stages, how she is overcoming, what solutions we have in front of us. Now, then, if we talk about violence against women in Indian context, before the independence and after the independence, yeah, in the world level also, we can see that violence against women is one of the major issue. Yeah, women faced in every stage, every historical stages. In the past, we can see some of the violence were the part of our cultural, societal practices like sati, vidava vivah, then just Devdasi system like. But due to means so many other reformative activists, yeah, other policy level interventions, the situation is changed. But still she is facing so many type of violences. This violence start before she opens her eyes, like female feticide, yeah, sex selective abortion. She is facing means from that stage she is starting to face the violence. Then if we look into the different stages, she is starting to face the violence from her home, maybe through maybe by her life partner, yeah, her parents, otherwise her siblings. She is facing different type of violence from her family, yeah, from her home. Then after going to starting to her education system, yeah, her education, she is facing these different types of violence from her educational institutions also, whether it's basic for the basic education, yeah, in the school level, yeah, otherwise in the higher education, PhD, yeah, postdoctoral studies. She is facing these different types of violences from her teachers, friends, and other staff. Then in the workplace also, the same situation is continuing through her employers, maybe through her colleagues. Then even in the public places, we can see she is facing different types of violences through her known, yeah, unknown persons. Means the Delhi gang rape is one of the example of the means notorious yeah, example of this public place violence. Then if we look into the different types of violences, yeah, different forms of violences, we can see domestic violence, yeah, dowry harassment, yeah, dowry death, other sexual harassment cases, including rape cases, then acid attack cases, trafficking cases, prostitution. This type of different types of violences we can see. But if we look into the nature of the violences, I think there is some changes in the within the development of the society. For example, in the not in the past, past in a year, like in the past, the most if we look into the domestic violence cases, we can see that the physical violence, physical and economic violence were more prevalent, but now it's emotional violence and sexual violence, yeah, sexual harassment within the domestic violence is more prevalent. Then we can see that the cyber crime, it's also increasing. Then in short, we can see that violence is existing in every historical stage, yeah, in every developmental stages of women, but there are some changes in the forms. Sorry, there are some changes in the form of violence and play who he's the perpetrator. Now there is some changes. Then sorry, they then we look into the wars and riots. Gujarat riot and Muzaffarnagar riots are best example in the recent years. Means how many women are raped, how many women are sexually harassed during these stages, during this social, yeah, state, yeah, situations. There are so many this type. Means if we look into the history, in every war, in every riot, most women are faced so many violence, considering comparing to men. Then if we look into the reason of violence, we can see that the main thing, I think, there are so many policies and legislative level interventions sorry, there are so many policies and legislative level interventions, but these interventions are not making any changes. Yeah, not making possible change. Means important changes within the mindset of the people. Yeah, mindset of the society. That is one of the main problem. Or जो male dominated social structure. This male dominated social structure, that is the basic reason for this prevalence of violence against women, and alcoholism, dowry system, then commodification of women identity, etc. These are these all are working as the triggers. Sorry. All are working as the triggers for the to increase the violence against women. Sorry. Then, if we look into the
Maybe if you can drink some water, maybe you will be able to continue.
if we look into the journey of a women victim, if we look into the journey of a women victim, we can see that it's very pathetic situation. Pathetic situation in the sense that there are so many cases that's not even reported within the within the social structure, yeah, within the justice system. And if a woman victim is going to report a case, she will think 100 times before reporting a case. Because in most of the cases, the perpetrator is a known person to the victim. So in most of the cases, the perpetrator is a known to the victim. That is the main thing. She faces, he threatens the particular victim, and more than that, the status of the family. Status of the family is a main problem for reporting the case, because of, especially in the case of rape cases and domestic violence cases, maximum people are, even the family is also trying to hide the crime. Hide even in the domestic violence cases also. Maximum trying to hide the situation. Then another thing is that marriage is an established system. An established system means sorry. Established system means I am not against the marriage system, but we are giving more importance to the marriage of a girl child, yeah, marriage of a woman, other than anything. Anything means other than her education, other than her career, other than her personal and social development. We are giving more importance to this marriage system. Then to protect this marriage system, people are trying to hide the particular crime. These are some reasons I think. I think the reason for not reporting the cases. Then if we are ready to approach a system to report the case, there also she is facing so many issues: threat from her family, threat from the perpetrator, threat from even the system. We know the Bilkis Banu case.
We could take a minute break, ma'am. You can just be a little comfortable.
I'm trying to brief the things. Anyway, after reporting the cases, also she is facing so many issues, even in the rehabilitation of the victims. Then, means if we look into the case of Bilkis Banu case, you know that means how many years it took with the legal procedures. But after taking these legal procedures, also she is not getting the justice. This is one of the example of the pathways of women victim to the justice. This is one of the example. I'm just concluding by giving a brief about the solutions, how we can, I think there is no such a solution for this issue. But anyway, we can make or we can work for a little bit for the change in the society. Then for that, education is one of the main thing. Education matlab, education means education of our ideologies, education about our policies, education about our existing system, education about our rights, education about means everything. We as a woman, we should know everything about the society, about the state, about the about our rights. Otherwise, we could not speak. That education that gives our that that gives confidence to women to respond, at least to support the women victims. That confidence, that responding capacity, that supporting capacity, that will at least make some changes in the society. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, I could not give some examples and other things. Sorry. Thank you very much.
We are very grateful for your time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences, although you are not very well. Thank you so much, Sharnas Muthu. And next, our last speaker is Miss Sara Mathews. She is an educationist, writer, and an activist.
Good evening. Salam alaikum. There are a lot of distinguished people here, and it was absolutely fantastic listening to the earlier speakers. I don't know how much I can contribute to this dialogue that we are having today. I'm sorry, I have a problem with my eyes. I've had a surgery recently, so the screen is hurting my eyes. So please forgive me if I don't look directly at the screen all the time. Okay, so I had chosen to speak about the challenges that women face in making independent choices in independent India. So much has already been covered about education, violence against women in different forms, quite extensively by the earlier two speakers. You know, whenever I have talked with people in my social circles, educated people, let's talk about them, they always say that some people say that the law is totally in favor of women. And there are lots of others, whenever some dastardly crime, some terrible thing happens, and suddenly everyone's conscience is awakened, they say, we need more laws. So you have two contradictory statements made by society. And I always tell them this. There is legislation for women, for the protection of women, but it is not that it works in the favor of women. Because who implements these laws? If you look at the anti-rape laws that we have, or the domestic violence, okay, let's take the case of rape. Who is the person you first approach? You go to a police station. See, we have laws in our country, but what is the law enforcement in our country? What is the implementation of these laws? And what dictates the implementation of these laws? A lot of it has got to do with our patriarchal mindset, cultural norms, which are all heavily in favor of men again. Under our constitution, if you look, we women can have a lot of choices if you look at our constitution, because it talks about equality of opportunity, equality before the law, right to education. We have right to livelihood, which is a part of right to life, humane conditions at work, reservation of seats in the panchayat and municipality. We have voting rights. We can stand for election. Fantastic. So I don't think we should be looking towards the constitution. We've got everything in place there. But why is it that we find that still when it comes to the basic right to education, it is still very difficult for many girl children to access education, young women to go in for further studies? That's all because of our patriarchal mindset, where either financial constraints come in the way, or the place of education is far away from home. It's not safe enough for the girls. All these things, you know. Look at our parliament. We have a measly 14% of women representation in our parliament. The women's bill has been pending for long, and as I think it was Sharad Pawar who recently said that it's very difficult. It's going to be difficult to pass that bill because of our North Indian politicians. So basically, there are a number of things that stand in our way. How much do we contribute to it? What is the right of choice that we have? We're talking about making choices in independent India, right? Do we face a violence there in making our choices? Yes, we do. Right from the way we dress, what we want to study, when we want to get married or we don't want to get married. Everything is controlled or dictated, either by family, society, or the government. You've had the whole hijab issue coming up in India. And if you look right now in Iran, which is a theocratic state, there are women out on the streets protesting against hijab. So I have someone on my Facebook. He's a right-winger, and he very sarcastically wrote. He posted about Iran and he wrote, and there were some people in India fighting for the hijab. So I wrote over there on his wall, you're not getting the point. Women want the right to decide whether they wear the hijab or not. The government doesn't tell us what to do. This is something that many people do not understand. You look at a whole panchayat system, we have seats reserved for women. Women fight it, but then their husbands take the decisions, they call the shots. I've already talked about the parliament. In fact, Rwanda has the highest woman, Rwanda has something like 61% in its parliament, 61% are women. And we are among the lowest in the country where this is concerned. How do you expect women-friendly implementation of laws or women-friendly laws unless you have women talking about it? I always give this example of something which happened, I think 7-8 years ago in Saudi Arabia. I remember reading about it, that they had a whole conference, I think 3-day conference or 1-day conference, I don't remember the exact number of days, on women empowerment. And there were only men, only male delegates in that. How do you talk about women's empowerment if women are not equally involved in that? Where is our choice in this matter? And this is something, I mean, let's accept it that even urban educated women like us don't sometimes have to give up on our choices because of a lot of societal norms, or simply that it's dangerous for us. What about our religious laws? Since I'm talking to an exclusively Muslim audience, I will take the liberty of saying this, that there are many laws in Islam which are women friendly, But are they really being implemented in that spirit in India? Because I've had cases of women coming to me where they have to stick on in a very, very, unhappy marriage. I mean, I don't even want to describe the kind of things they've told me, these women. They couldn't even bring themselves to say certain things. But they can't get a divorce. They can't get a talaq. You have the provision of khulla, but that again is controlled. You see, unless every community, every religious community doesn't bring about reform within itself, you're giving space for outsiders to come in and interfere. I'm sorry if this upsets anyone over here, but I'm speaking very frankly because these are practical problems we faced. We always talk about the property rights given in Islam, so many things to women. But I find that a lot of men get very defensive and speak about this. That is, at a very theoretical level when we are having a dialogue. When we are faced with some kind of oppression, or you feel that there is an imposition of majoritarian views on us, that time we immediately speak up about this. But sometimes, very often, our actions don't, what do you say? Our actions are not commensurate with that. And this is somewhere what I think that women within each community, they need to really stand up for themselves, because no man is going to give us our rights. No man is going to give us the right of choice. This is something we need to fight for. It's not easy. Today, a lot of people think of me as an emancipated woman. Believe me, even today, I'm fighting for a lot of my rights. That fight is going on. It's not going to end, because we live in such a skewered system. Irrespective of your religion or caste or whatever community, wherever you are in the world, it's not hunky-dory in the West. You all know that. But it's not hunky-dory here also for us. Where do we bring this change about, whether it's a right to education, our right to livelihood? Okay, so we've talked about violence against women, so I will not touch that at all, about domestic violence, about rape. The previous speaker did a fantastic job of it. I'm not going to talk about any of those things, but I'll just talk about one thing. Your right to work at your workplace. It took so long to get us a law which talks about prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace. But tell me, how well is that law implemented? First of all, 95% of Indian women are in the unorganized sector. They don't have access to this law. The rest of us who are there in the organized sector, an independent survey recently showed that about 31% of the companies did not comply with this law. They could not, more than 56. Now, how does this law work? You all know, if you have more than 10 employees in a company, you are supposed to have an internal complaints committee. If you have less than 10 employees, then you have to be, you have to work with the local complaints committee, which comes under the district collector. Okay. 56% of the districts all over India didn't comply with these laws. They had no record of anything. The government does not have centralized data regarding this particular law and the violations of it. This is shocking. We have a law, but we don't have centralized data regarding this. So you just tell me, how effective is this implementation going to be? Because this is a serious problem. There is sexual harassment at workplace. You have the glass ceiling, because so many women do not come up only because of the gender. So when we're talking about choices, yes, I have the choice to go and work, but am I comfortable enough to work there? Do I have to quit my job or just put up with things because I need that money? So it's no longer a choice, it's a compulsion. The government has also got about another redressal system. I think that is 2017, where I think under the Women and Child Development Ministry, they have something called the She Box. It's an online complaint redressal mechanism. But tell me, how many women in India have internet connectivity access, and how many of them know how to use it? Like Manipur has 77% of women who have internet, access connectivity, who are used to it. Compare that with Bihar. Do those women in Bihar have that kind of access? So we have laws. I always say we have laws. but we have very, very faulty mechanisms in place. How do we effectively implement these things? So in effect, when we talk under the Constitution, yes, I have the right to livelihood, under the right to live. I have the right to humane conditions at work, but that's not practically happening. So that hampers my choice, my decision to work. What kind of job will I take up? Is it too far for me to go? Is it the kind of job that where I'm going to be surrounded by all men and probably the only woman there? Would I want to take it up? This is one thing. Well, we talk about, unless we have effective representation of women in the legislature, in the parliament, we are really not going to have much of a change. We do have women, I told you 14%. And how women get into these, into politics, effective politics, electoral politics, that again is a very patriarchal way of setting up. It could be, you belong to the right dynasty, you belong to the right family. Supposing you and I want to stand for election, we are concerned about women's rights. How much chance do we have as educated middle-class women? Not much. Look at the money power that's involved in it. And look at the violence that's involved in it. So automatically that choice is stolen from us because we can't afford 50 crores. I can't afford 50 crores. I want to really stand for elections and do something for women, for depressed classes and marginalized communities. But I don't have 50 crores in my hand. So that automatically removes my choice. I don't have the choice of standing for elections, standing to, fight in a more effective manner. What I think is an effective manner, someone else may not think that's an effective manner. But my choice is effectively taken away from me. There's so much of violence, so much of filth, that so many times people actually tell me that, Sara, you should stand. Then I myself say, no, yaar, I don't have that kind of money and I don't have that kind of clout. And then a lot of other people will also tell me, no, decent people from decent families, decent women don't get into all this. You see, again, this whole choice business. Do I have a choice? This is something that we all need to introspect. Where do we go from here? I mean, you walk into police stations, you talk to policemen, you talk to the local leaders or what you call just the goons of the area. You're trying to do something, but how much can you do when you really don't have that kind of clout? You can create awareness to some extent, but how effective are you in your implementation? I think most of my life as an activist, I have faced more of failure. People have asked me, I have faced failure majorly. I have hardly had much success. And that's because all these factors stand against me. Yes, it is my choice to go and do this. I'm still doing it. But am I successful? There are times I just want to throw up my hands in the air and say, I've had enough. But then all of us, I think, are in that situation. Where do we start from? Do we start from the family? Because there is a lot of violence against women and families. The highest number of cases, criminal cases, where women are concerned, pertains to cruelty by husband and relatives, not rape. And that is, about 31.8% of the cases reported. This is followed by assault on women with intent to outrage her modesty. That's about 20.8%. Kidnapping and abduction of women, 17.6%. Rape is only 7.4%. This is all according to the National Crimes Bureau report. Rape again, sexual assault within the family, outside the family in India, about 92% of the rapes are by known people. Sexual assault is by known people. Only 1% is actually reported. Again, that law, especially after the Nirbhaya case, is fantastic. You're supposed to finish the trial within 6 months in the trial court. Nothing happens. Not even the charge sheet is filed within 6 months. By then, the woman is under so much of pressure to back off. You can't withdraw a rape complaint. So she just turns hostile. Witnesses turn hostile because of the way our system works, the way the judiciary works. If you ask the judiciary what's wrong, they'll say, we are overloaded. Our courts are, too much. We just can't handle the number of cases in our courts. So from our family, it starts from within the family, whether you like it or not. Our choices are curtailed within our family. Don't we have our choices curtailed? Even about the way we dress. Okay, let's talk about a very sensitive issue. I can see that nearly all of you are, all of you are hijabi here except me, I think. Okay. I have fought for the hijab here in India, despite being a non-hijabi. I have said, yes, I do not wear the hijab, but I support my hijabi sisters because nobody can dictate whether a woman should wear hijab or not. But there are n number of cases where women tell me that they are forced to wear the hijab in their houses. Now, in a religion like Islam, where we say that there is no compulsion, that is there in the Quran, this is a sensitive issue. So this starts from the house. I also know cases where girls have rebelled against their family and worn the hijab. I know one case where the girl was lying and saying, no, I'm getting burnt in the sun. My skin is sensitive. She was lying to her parents because she wanted to wear the hijab. It took her a whole year to admit to them that she was wearing the hijab. So both cases, forcing someone to wear it, not forcing someone not to wear it. We talk about family, societal pressures. Is the government with us? Do we have adequate representation? I mean, our Constituent Assembly under Dr. Ambedkar did a fantastic job of the Constitution. And we keep screaming about the Constitution. Every time something happens, we say we have to save the Constitution. How much are we really saving the Constitution? Only when we face a majoritarian threat? So I don't know where this is going to begin. Probably we need to change the mindsets. First of all, work towards our own conditioning, how much we get out of it. Can we bring about a change in our family? Because I always tell women, a lot of places where we have seminars on assault against women, blah, blah, blah. People ask, what do you do for this? I said, first of all, how do you bring up the boys in your house? You start with them young. Unless we do this in our own families, we cannot bring about a societal change. And if you're talking about our faith, understand our faith in its entirety. The respect that it accords women, the rights that it accords women. Just for a theoretical debate, let's not have it. I remember sending someone, I didn't know what to do. I asked somebody, whom do I send this woman and my assistant to? She needs a khulla because it's terrible. She has problems with the father-in-law, blah, blah. I don't want to get into that. It was a very dirty case. So they asked me to go to a particular religious body. I don't want to take that name also. Those women, they came back crying, saying that we were abused by those men over there, saying, how dare you even talk about khulla? Go get your husband's permission and come. What do you do then? You're talking about rights of women. So let's start from within our families, within our community. Let's not give a chance for outsiders to get involved in, our community matters or what our religion teaches us. Because reform should come from within, the way we think. So we need to start from here about choices. Only then we can impact society at a greater level. I think, I don't know, I may have ruffled feathers here, but I hope it's taken in a positive sense. And thank you so much for giving a patient hearing.
Thank you so much, Sara ma'am. I appreciate the remark you made on today's burning topic. We were pleased to have your participation. Taking our program towards the end, I would like to call Ms. Unnisa Abdurazak. She is a National Secretary of Jamaat-e-Islami Hind Women's Wing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalatu wassalamu ala rasulil ameen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Sister Sumaiya, Roshan, President, National Federation of GIO. Samar Ali, Secretary, National Federation of GIO, and all the executive committee members and the organizers of this program. Also, the speakers of today, Sister Sara Mathews, Dr. Sharnas, Muthu, and Sister Shyama. I think it was a very vast topic that we discussed. The topic is very, very elaborate, and we are not able to do justice, I think, anyway, but our speakers struggled a lot to touch on the key points. And I'm really very thankful to Sara Mathews for reminding the community of their responsibility, especially. This is what we also want to tell our community. So we have taken it in a very positive sense, and this is what we want We need to be open and frank enough wherever we are and talk about what is really happening in our society. As Sister Sara Mathews herself has said, we have a wrong notion that women are not safe outside. Actually, women are actually, less safe inside their homes, in most of the homes in our country. That is what, with data, with supportive data, our sister Sara Mathews was pointing out. And I was reminded when she was talking about that, I was reminded of one of our former presidents, K.R. Narayan. He said on the occasion of one Women's Day, he said that a girl is not safe even in her mother's womb. That is the reality. Even in the mother's womb, a girl child is not safe. And this is the reality. And as far as, see, nowadays, there are many girl children disappearing, and especially in the urban societies, as per the survey conducted in 2020-21 by NFHS. It says that in the urban communities, urban societies, we have only 985 females out of 1,000 males. For 1,000 males, we have only 985 females. So where do the females disappear? It has been said that in another data, it has been said that 63 million girls are missing from the population, and they are not even allowed to be born into this world. So the main reason is the belief system and the mindset of people. As some of our speakers have pointed out, it is a mindset of the people. We have laws, as Shyama has pointed out, now more and more girls are coming to the higher education field also, and more women are entering into the work field also. But as long as the mind is the root mindset, if that doesn't change, if the belief system, the culture in the name of tradition or culture, and there are many superstitious beliefs also among many religious groups, like, talking about the original sin of whether it is the Hawa who prompted Adam to do it. So she says basically a sinner. She's born as a sinner, and women are, at times they are not pure, that kind of a notion. And there are so many such belief systems, and which make people think that women are only second-class citizens and men have, rank higher than them. This way of thinking. And moreover, our nation, even, we are celebrating the 75 years of independence. Amrit Mahotsav we are celebrating. But there are crores of women even now in the present India who are illiterates. Forget about education, even elementary education. They are illiterates. They don't even know how to write their names. Last week we went to Haryana in connection with the literacy campaign that we are doing. We went to Haryana and we were talking to around 50-60 women who have gathered there. I asked them, how many of you know how to read and write? Only 2 of them raised their hands, and they are young girls. But these women are the ones who are earning for their families, who are working hard, and they are the ones who are running their families. Their husbands are not even with them. So this is the harsh reality of the nation. So how can we educate a society, a group of people, especially in the marginalized communities, the women, of their rights if they don't even know how to read and write? So this is a situation now. And then the political scenario, less representation of women in the parliament, Sister Sara Mathews and others were pointing out. But at the same time, we should also understand that just by having more number of women with the same mindset, things will not change. It will only make it worse. So the first thing is, the mindset has to change. In most of the panchayats and most of the places where women are there, we see that it is the men who do the backseat driving. Women are there because they have to be there. But at the same time, it is the men who are doing the things and who are controlling the affairs. So we need to, again, educate the women and empower women with all these things, and then only things will change. Another situation which I want to mention here is now in olden days, during the barbaric times, people used to talk about, we have seen in history, we have read in history, like when there are wars going on between two groups of people or two nations, two countries, people used to rape their women, catch hold of their women, enslave them, and all these things were going on. But even now, in the present India, clearly, openly, political leaders tell you rape them. You take the dead body of a Muslim woman from the grave and rape. This is the, motivation given by the responsible people, the leaders of the nation, who are supposed to guide the youngsters in the correct way, in the right path, and who are supposed to guide the youth to respect their women. And we talk about, women as, mother, as a goddess kind of picture we give, but at the same time, this is how we attack the women in the other, we can say, or the communities or people whom we don't like. That is a case of Bilkis Banu. Bilkis Banu case is not a rare kind of case. It is a very common happening in the villages and everywhere, even in the workplace, everywhere it is happening. And our legal system, we said that we all know that there are many laws and regulations, but the problem is, as Sharnas Muthu was saying, it is at the procedure, how, when a woman approaches, see, for example, after rape, if a woman approaches the legal system for help, for justice, what happens is, in the procedure of finding out the case and studying the case during that procedure, she has been raped again and again, mentally tortured again and again. And moreover, how much money you have to pay, how much money you have to spend to get the support of the legal system, the judiciary, and the public places, including the universities, public transport system, health system. They are not woman friendly. Women have to face a lot of challenges there also, whether it is the toilets, the sanitation. Even many women complain that they don't have place to, safely discard their sanitary napkins. This is a need of a woman, and that is not being acknowledged and identified. So solution, it's a deep-rooted and problem that we face in our country, and the solution is not, there are no shortcuts. Sometimes, when a woman faces problem, some people say that just by dewomanizing the woman, like, you behave like men. In Kerala, that discussion is going on now. Send gender neutral uniform. And in the name of gender neutral uniform, what they are imposing is the usual. Of course, we can say that, there is no such dress that this is for men and this is for women. But usually in a society, a type of dress that is being worn usually by men are being imposed on women. Why they don't say that, okay, let us take the dress of a woman and wear everyone. So again, you are saying that the type of dress that has been worn by men or boys is the best dress that you also wear. Again, you are indirectly telling that whatever is related to women, whatever a woman likes to wear or whatever a woman has chosen to wear, that is something inferior to what the men are doing or what the men are wearing. So you do that. So dewomanizing process, that is not the way how we can get rid of these problems. And again, this notion has to change. It's not that, men are all the enemies of women and women are facing problems because of men. It is a mindset and the entire belief system, attitude, that is what has to be changed. And even women are also inside their mind, they also have that feeling that, oh, I'm inferior, I can do nothing, I'm like this, I'm like that. And they try to copy or they try to compete with men. What is the need for a woman to compete with men? See, actually, there is a saying that women are not created to do whatever men are doing. Women are created to do things which even men cannot do. There are many things like that. There are the feminine strength of a woman that should be identified, and a woman should feel confident of that feminine strength. And she need not have to copy, or she need not have to fight and prove herself better than the best men in the world to be accepted. That is what is happening. Only if you prove yourself, whichever area it is, whichever field it is, whether it is organizations or whether it is in the workplace, a woman, if a woman is there, she has to prove better than the best men. Then only she will get acceptance. And very few women only get that acceptance because of that. And the women who get acceptance are really wonderful women who have fought and proved that they are better than the best men. So such women only get acceptance. So these stereotypical narratives, I think Shyama was talking about that. So this stereotypical, I think Sumaiya was talking about the stereotypical narratives have to be changed, and mere representation is not enough. We need to understand our mind. We need to understand our rights. We need to understand where we need to stand, and we need to understand where we need to raise our voices. So as a conclusion, I just want to see, we need to talk about solutions. As Sara Mathews said, since most of the viewers and listeners are Muslims, and this is the occasion when we all talk about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rabiul Awwal, and we are talking and we are remembering him. And we have a very great example shown by the Prophet. And if the community, the Muslim community, instead of imitating and adopting the other cultures, if the Muslim community is ready to obey the Quran in the full essence, as understand in its entirety, and as the Quran says, you enter into the religion fully. It's not that, okay, this is good, so I will take this. This is good, so I will take it. And this is little difficult, so I will do. It's not like that. Justice is what Islam advocates. And we have the Medina model of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quran, chapter number 16, verse number 58 and 59, talks about the situation of women in those days when the Prophet Muhammad started his, propagation, nubuwwat. It was like, they were burying the girl child alive because otherwise, it is like a shame to have a girl child. And from that situation, how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam changed the entire, not only in Makkah or Medina, in the Arabian world, in the whole world, that was the situation of women at that time. But from that situation, the condition of women has been changed into such a condition that women's presence were felt in every field of life, every aspect of life. And that brought a revolutionary change in the entire society. Because any society where women face challenges, women do not have due representation, women do not get equal participation, definitely the entire society is bound to be a failure, bound to have a lot of problems. The progress will be stopped. So even the whole society, there was a revolutionary change, and they became the best society history has ever seen. And we have the example of Umar radiallahu anhu and people like that who were made to change through women. They were questioned and made to change through women. And how did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I can tell you 5 steps. Number 1 was Iqra, that is reading, that is education. And it was made compulsory on everyone, including men and women. If a parent has 2 children, one is a boy and one is a girl, it is compulsory on the parent to educate both of them. There is no choice there. Both of them have to be educated equally. And when you become an adult, it becomes compulsory on you for the lifelong education. You have to continue educating yourself. You have to continue to improve your knowledge. You have to continue strengthening yourself, empower yourself with all the skills needed, all the education needed. That is what Iqra means. Second is involvement. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam involved women in every aspect of life, every area of life. The masjids were kept open for the women. They were allowed to enter into the masjids. And they were not just allowed, they were encouraged. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reduced his recitation during the performance of salah, namaz, in order so that because he heard a child crying, he could have told the woman not to come to the masjid with the child, but he did not do that. He wanted to facilitate every, and the third thing is he facilitated. He made things available. The facilities were arranged at every sphere of life, even in the society outside. The streets were made, guidances were given on how the streets should be, so that it would facilitate a woman also to walk freely in the streets. And spreading scandals against women. Forget about rape and atrocities against women. Even spreading scandals against women was considered as a heinous crime. It was a guna, it was a sin in Islam. So that is how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam facilitated women to appear into the public places. And finally, he put the fear of God in the minds of the believers, that definitely even a small act of unkindness towards women will be the reason for them to enter into the hellfire. So the fear of the hereafter. And the Prophet, his last khutbah, khutbatul wida we call it, the last sermon also, he was talking about this. He was reminding people about respecting women, honoring women, and I am the one. And he showed it was not just a speech. He showed it through his own examples and his own family people. Aisha radiallahu anha, his wife, he told his followers, male followers, he told his male followers that you learn your deen from her. So involved, he ensured that women in the Islamic society, in the society that he established, enjoy a very comfortable and honorable position. And there are more details. I think our audience can go into the details. And whatever problems a Muslim society is facing now is only and only because we are going away from the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah at practical level. We need to implement. These are not for sermons or only for the musalla or masjid. These are practical teachings and tips given by the Quran and Sunnah, which we have to follow in our life. And once again, congratulations to all of you, and thank you very much. It was a wonderful evening, and it was, I really enjoyed listening to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rahmath Auntie, for concluding this lecture. Now I would like to call Muhi Nishad for the vote of thanks. She is a member of GIO from Karnataka.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. On behalf of National Federation of GIO Monthly Awareness Program Committee, I extend very heartily vote of thanks to all the speakers for sharing your important work, sharing your findings and opinions with us today. We thank you, our speakers, Sister Shyama S, sub-editor of Aura magazine, Dr. Sharnas, Muthu, General Secretary, Women's Manifesto, New Delhi, Sara Mathews, Managing Trustee, Sankalp Women's Support Alliance, towards the topic, Women and Their Challenges in Free India. It was beautifully explained by the speakers. I also thank Unnisa, Abdurazak, National Secretary, JIH Women's Wing, Advocate Sumaiya Roshan, President, National Federation of GIO, Sister Samar Ali, General Secretary, National Federation of GIO. Once again, we are grateful for our speakers present today. We are thankful for being with us this evening. It has been a great pleasure. Jazakallahu khairan kasira. I also thank our audience, each and everyone who are listening patiently today, and we hope you will be ponder on today's points. And thankful for making our program a grand success. I would like to end my words today with this. I would like to end this program by dua. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik. Hope to see you next month with next topic. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.